In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a professional speaker profile that sets you apart, help you showcase your personal brand, highlights your expertise and achievements, and gets you booked on podcasts and shows faster. I'll be sharing the exact methods used by BoldPMM in their BoldVoice service, which has already helped founders connect with hundreds of podcasts, reach thousands of listeners, and generate both content and sales. Instead of paying 500 euros for a professionally designed speaker profile, we're going to create one for free using only Canva free account. So let's get started.
Alright, so to start you need to open Canva, and from the Canva homepage, click on this icon to create a new website. We're designing this as a website because it's the most convenient way to structure the speaker page. However, you don't necessarily need to publish it. You can also download it as PDF and send it directly to potential podcast hosts. So let's start with the first section of the website, which is the hero section. This will serve as your hook, the first thing that catches the attention of the podcast host when they open your speaker profile. First, I'll change the background color to this light orange. I'm using the BoldPMM palette for this website, but of course you can use colors that match your brand. Now I want to add my name and expertise right up front so podcast hosts can immediately recognize my niche. I'll hit T on my keyboard to create a new text box and paste in my title. I'll align it to the left and change the font to Poppins. I want all of my text in this website to be in Poppins, but in different font weights. For this title, I'll set it to medium and change the size to 19px. Now I'll duplicate this text box and paste in my second title, which describes my niche and what I do. I'll make it a bit larger, around 30px, and change it to Poppins Bold. The last text box on this page will be a short but powerful description that highlights my unique value. If you're not sure what to write, you can use ChatGPT to generate ideas, but make sure your description answers these key questions. What problem do you solve? Who do you help? And how do you make a difference? I'll make this text smaller, around 21px, and set it to Poppins Light. Now I'll adjust the spacing between the text to keep everything balanced. Next, I want to add my profile picture to build trust and credibility as soon as person lands on my page. To do that, I'll go to my brand kit, where I already have my profile picture uploaded. I'll round the edges slightly and position it neatly on the page. Now I'll add a call to action button to encourage engagement. I'll hit R on my keyboard to create a rectangle. Adjust its size and round the corners slightly to give it a softer look. Inside the button, I will write "Who is May?" So when visitors will click on it, they will transfer to my bio section. I'll make the text semi-bold for emphasis. To add some depth to the button, I'll duplicate the rectangle, remove the text from the duplicate, and change its color slightly, and then position it behind the original button to create a subtle shadow effect. Now I'll group the button elements together so they stay aligned. I'll add links later once the entire page is complete. To make the background more interesting, I'll add a subtle noise texture. This is a small trick that makes the page look more polished. You can search for noise background in Canva and choose a graphic. But I already have one saved in my brand kit, so I'll use that. I'll lower the transparency and duplicate it to cover the entire page. Then I'll move it to the bottom layer so it doesn't overlay the text and everything. Finally, I'll make sure everything is properly aligned to the left. I'll check the Arrange tool to confirm that all the text boxes are positioned correctly. Everything looks clean and well organized, so that's my hero section done. Now let's move on to the next page. Alright, so I'll just click on Add Page to create the next section, which will be the Featured In section. This is where you can showcase logos of different blogs or podcasts you've already been featured in. First, I'll change the background to black to create a nice contrast. Then I'll add a new text box and place it right here. I'll type featured in and change the font to Anton. This is actually the only text box in the entire speaker page that uses a different font than Poppins. I'll make it bigger and align it perfectly in the center. Now I'll start adding logos of blogs and podcasts I've been featured in. I already have them uploaded in my uploads folder, so I will just click on them. Let's start with the first one. I'll make it a bit smaller so it fit nicely. Now I'll add the second one and the third one just like that. To make sure everything looks clean and professional, I'll align all the logos to the center. Then I'll space them evenly horizontally so they look balanced on the page. I think I can make them all slightly smaller to give the design some breathing room. That looks much better. This section is important because if you're already been on recognized platforms, it really boosts your credibility and makes podcast hosts more likely to book you. But if you haven't been featured anywhere yet, that's totally fine. Just skip this section and move on to the next one. And maybe in the future, just recreate this and add the logos you will gain.
By the way, if you want to save time, you can grab the professional speaker profile template for Canva along with the custom ChatGPT used by BoldVoice to help you generate the content for your profile. Check out the link in the description.
Alright, so I'll add another page. Let me just make it a bit bigger by stretching it so I will have enough space to place everything I need. The next section will be the bio and key highlights from my career. Let's start with my bio. I want to write something clear and engaging, not too much, not too little, so that podcast hosts will quickly understand who I am and what my story is. First, I'll change the background to white, but I'll make it slightly grayish red to add some contrast. Now I'll add a new text box and place it here. I'll type biography and change the font. It's already set to Poppins semi-bold, which is exactly what I want. Let's make it bigger and I will change the color to this orange from the Bold PMM brand kit. Under biography, I want to write who is May to make it clear that this section is about me. I'll make sure both text elements are aligned to the left and I'll increase the size of who is May significantly, changing it to black so it stands out. Now I'll duplicate this text box and I'll paste in the biography I wrote about myself. Of course, I'll make the text much smaller, around 19px, and change it to Poppins Light. That looks good. Let's move it a bit closer so everything is spaced properly. Now the next part I want to add will be highlights from my career. This section will include key achievements and bullet points that makes it easy for podcast hosts to quickly scan and understand my expertise. So I'll duplicate this section and just change the text here. I'll rename biography to resources and who is my to be highlights. Now I'll paste in the bullet points I already wrote. I will format them properly into a clean bullet list, making sure they are easy to read. Since I need more space, I'll stretch the page a little further down so everything fits neatly. I'll also adjust the layout slightly, moving everything up just a bit, not too much. The last thing I want you to add to this page is links to your website and social media profiles. This is really important because it gives podcast hosts easy access to learn more about me. So I'll create a section titled Links right here and start adding my social media icons. I'll hit R on my keyboard to create a rectangle and I want to make sure everything is uniform. So I'll set the width and height to 75 on 75 pixels. I'll place it right here and round the corners slightly. Next, I'll add the LinkedIn logo inside it. I already have the LinkedIn logo here, so I'll just take its color, change the background of the rectangle to match, and set the logo itself to white. I'll position it inside the rectangle, make sure it looks good. I think I can make it a little bigger. Yes, that looks better. I also have a YouTube channel I want to link, so I'll duplicate the LinkedIn button, change the background color to black, and insert the YouTube logo inside. Now I'll group both elements together to keep everything aligned. Later, I will add the actual link to these buttons so they will be clickable. Now that the layout is set, I want to add the background noise texture like I did in the hero section. I'll just copy it from the first page and paste it here. Let me ungroup it just for a second so I can take just one line of this texture and duplicate it to place it across the background. I'll make sure it's aligned properly, and now I'll go to the layer section, select everything, group it all together, and move it beneath the main content. Look how better this page looks now. It has more depth and feels more polished for sure. Alright, now I'll add another page and create a small CTA section to make it as easy as possible for podcast hosts to book a session with me. I don't want them to have to search for a button or figure out how to contact me. I want the process to be quick and effortless. First, I'll change the background color to this light blue from the BoldPMM's brand key just to make it stand out. Now I'll add a new text box and type in Book Me Now. I'll make it much bigger and change the font to Poppins Bold so it grabs attention. I'll position it right in the center of the page. Next, I will add another text box, but this time I'll set the font size to 21px and change it to Poppins Light for contrast. Here, I will write a short paragraph to encourage podcast hosts to book me. This text should make them feel excited and motivated to take action. I'll adjust the size again to 21px, center it on the page, and move the heading slightly up to make space. Now I need to stretch this page a little bit more because I also want to add a CTA button here. Instead of creating a new one, I'll just go up, copy the button from my hero section and paste it here. I'll place it exactly in the center of the page and change the text to Book Now. That way it's clear and direct. Alright, so the next section will be media appearances. If you've already been interviewed on a podcast or participated in this kind of interview, you should definitely add it to your speaker page. Podcast hosts want to hear how you sound and speak before booking you, and even a short high-quality clip can make a huge difference in getting booked. So it's really important to include something in this section. If you don't have anything to put here yet or haven't been on a podcast before, you can create your own content. You can either record a short video where you introduce yourself and discuss a topic for 2 or 3 minutes, or you can have a friend interview you and record the conversation as if it were a real podcast. This way, people can get a feel for how you sound and speak, which makes it much easier for hosts to say yes to booking you. Now I'll add one of my own videos from my YouTube channel. Just as an example, I'll start by taking the same background color from the previous page and applying it here. Then I'll create a new text box and type Media Appearances. Let's change the color to orange, position it at the top of the page and increase the font size to 26px. It's already set to Poppins Semi-Bold, which is exactly what I want. Next, I will duplicate this text box and add another title, Listen to my previous interviews. I'll change the font to Poppins Bold, set the size to 45px, and change the color to black so it stands out more. If you copy and paste a YouTube link into Canva, it will automatically embed the video. So I'll just grab a link from my YouTube channel for this example and paste it in. Now I'll stretch the page a little bit more, move the video slightly down, and make sure everything is positioned correctly. The last thing I want to add is the background noise texture, just like in the previous sections. I'll paste it in, stretch it across the page, and then go to the layers section to move it beneath everything. Now this section looks clean and well structured. Alright, so the next section will be podcast topics. What you can talk about when you're interviewed on a podcast. This section is really important because it helps hosts understand exactly what you can offer to their audience. When writing your topics, you should use a catchy title that sparks curiosity and a brief but exciting description of what listeners will learn. You can also mention specific tips, strategies, or case studies you will share. Podcast hosts love practical, valuable topics, so focus on what the audience will gain from your insights. Keep that in mind when creating these text boxes for your topics. I will start by changing the background color to black to make this section stand out. Now I'll add the first text box and type topics in all caps. I will set the font size to 35px and change the color to light orange. I'll place it exactly in the center and make it a bit thinner by changing it to regular. Now I'll duplicate this text box, paste in the text title and increase the size to 45px. I will change the font to Poppins Bold and set the color to white, then move it up slightly to balance the layout. Now let's start adding the actual podcast topics. First, I'll duplicate the text box and rename it Topic 1. I'll set the size to 25px, keep it in regular, and make it italic to create some contrast. Below that, I'll duplicate another text box for the topic title. The title needs to be precise and intriguing to grab the attention of podcast hosts so they will want to read the rest of the description. For this first topic, I'll type Mastering Canva at Lightning Speed and adjust the text box so it fits nicely. Below that, I will add a description paragraph that explains what the topic is about. I will change the font size to 16px, set it to Poppins Light, and position it correctly so it will look balanced. Now I will copy this entire section to create the second topic. I will rename it to Topic 2, align it to the left and change the title to Building a Personal Brand Through Design. I'll paste in the description and adjust the layout to keep everything neat. I think I can stretch everything a bit more so it will be more aligned. Now I will also stretch the page a little more so I will have space to add a CTA button at the bottom. Instead of creating a new one, I'll just grab one of the buttons I already made and paste it here. To match the color scheme, I'll ungroup the bottom, change the top rectangle to orange, and set the bottom one to black to create a layered effect. Now I will group it all together again, move it slightly down and stretch the page a bit more to give it enough space. Finally, I will add the noise texture to the background just like I did in the previous sections. I will copy it from the last page, paste it here, make it a bit bigger and go to the layers section to move it beneath everything. And look at how clean and structured this section looks. I love it. Alright, so the last section will be the final CTA. This is just a final push to reinforce the last step and make sure podcast hosts take action and book with you. Think of it as a last chance to encourage them to reach out before they leave your page. I will create another page, but this time I will make it smaller since it doesn't need a lot of content. I will change the background to light orange, just like the hero section, to keep everything visually consistent. Now I'll add a new text box and type "Want to interview me?" I'll increase the font size to 35px, make it bold, and place it in the center so it stands out. Next, I will create a small paragraph with a simple and clear booking instruction. I'll set the font size to 21px, change it to Poppins Light, and adjust the spacing so everything looks clear and balanced. I'll trim the paragraph a little to make sure it fits well and then position it exactly in the center. The last thing I need to add is, of course, the CTA button. I'll just copy the button from a previous section, paste it here, and adjust the placement so it aligns properly. And finally, I will copy the noise texture background, stretch it across the page, and move it beneath all the other elements in the layer section. It's really important to add this final CTA section because people often scroll down before making a decision. This gives them one more opportunity to take action before leaving your page. So when you create this section, make sure to include a clear title so they know what to do next, a short paragraph with simple booking instructions, a CTA button for instant action. And that's it. Now your speaker page is complete and ready to help you get booked for more podcasts. Alright, so now that we've finished designing all the pages and everything looks amazing, let's add the links to make sure everything is fully functional. First, I want this button to send visitors to a specific section of my page, so I will click on it, then press Command and K on my keyboard to add a link. But before that, I need to ungroup it because you cannot add a link when the elements are grouped together. Now I'll select the top rectangle with the text, press Command and K, and choose the section of the page I want this button to link to. That way, when someone clicks it, they will be sent directly to that part of the speaker profile. I'll save it and then remove the underline from the link since I don't want it to be visible. Next, I'll add links to my social media. Again, I need to ungroup the elements first. I will select the LinkedIn icon, press Command and K, and paste in the link to my LinkedIn profile. Done. And just to make sure the whole button is clickable, I'll add the same link to the rectangle behind the icon. Now I'll do the exact same thing for my YouTube channel, pasting in the link on both the icon and the rectangle. Now let's move on to the Book Now button. This depends on how you want people to book with you. If you use Calendly or any other booking platform, you can paste in the direct link to your calendar so they can schedule instantly. Another option is to link directly to email. To do this, you can enter a link that starts with mail to, followed by your email address. That way, when someone clicks the button, it will automatically open their email with a new message addressed to you. I won't add the email link right now, but just so you know, you can customize this however you like to direct hosts to book you. So make sure you add links to all of these buttons, ungroup them first, and then add the link to the top rectangle so it works properly. Now, before I show you how to publish or download this, let's add a navigation bar at the top of the page. I will quickly preview the design so I can see how it will look in a browser. This lets me check if everything is aligned properly and make any last adjustments. To create a navigation menu, I need to name each page so it appears in the header. To do that, I'll go to Grid View, where I can see all my pages at once. Now I'll give each page a name. First page will be About. Second page, Featured In. I actually don't want it to appear in the header, so I will skip it. Third page will be the bio. Fourth page, Book Now. Fifth page, Appearances. And sixth page, Topics. And the final page, I will leave this one unnamed so it doesn't show in the menu. Now let's preview it again. As you can see, the navigation bar is now visible at the top and I can click on each section to jump directly to that part of my speaker page. Once you've finished everything and you love how it looks, it's time to download or publish your speaker profile. You have two options. First option, download this as a PDF. This is great if you want to send your speaker profile directly to podcast hosts via email. When reaching out to them, you can simply attach this PDF so they have all the details about you in one place. Let me show you how it looks. I'll select all the pages, hit download, and now you can see the final version. It keeps all the formatting and looks exactly like the website we just designed. Second option, publish this as a website. To do that, I'll name it May's Speaker Profile and click Publish Website. Here you have a few customization options. You can resize the website for mobile, so the layout adjusts depending on what device people are viewing it on. You can also choose whether to include the navigation menu. I will leave it enabled. Now you can customize the URL. If you have a Canva Pro account, you can use your own domain name, or you can just publish it with a free Canva URL. I already created a similar website before, so that's why the URL is already filled in here, but you can choose any name you want. Next, I will go to Publish Settings. Here I can edit the title that appears in the Browser tab, so I'll name it May's Speaker Profile. Below that, I can add a meta description which will show up under website link in search results. If I go into advanced settings, there is an option to password protect the website. But I don't need that because I want it to be accessible to everybody. There is also an option to let Google index this site so it appears in search results. Another great feature here is the link preview. If disenabled, when you share the link on social media or in messages, it will generate a preview image. You can upload your own custom preview to make it more eye-catching instead of just showing the first page of the website. I highly recommend doing this if you want to grab people's attention when sharing your speaker page. Once everything is set, I'll hit Publish Website, and now my speaker profile is live. The domain here isn't my final choice, so I'll definitely change it later, but just so you can see how it looks. This is my fully completed speaker page. It looks really professional, slick, and polished. And now I can easily share it with podcast hosts and start getting booked. If you found this information valuable and want to learn how to find the right podcasts to pitch and how to reach out effectively, this is just the first video in a mini course on getting booked and turning podcasts interviews into content. Check out the link in the description to keep learning. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.